Alright, so for this video I'm going to do something different. Instead of showing you catching the fish, I'm actually going to show you what I do with the trout to get it ready to cook. So I'm going to show you how to clean it, or at least how I do it. There's plenty of ways to do it. You can find tons of videos on the internet on how to do it. This is how I do it, but I'm sure there's plenty of other ways. So if you're squeamish, you may want to stop watching because it will get a little gory, but if you want to see how I do it, stick around. So this is a nice about 13-inch rainbow trout I caught this afternoon. So what I do is I clean it. I don't fillet it right away. I just get the guts out, get it clean, put it in a Ziploc bag if I'm not going to eat it or cook it right away, and put it in the fridge or freezer depending on how long before I cook it. So first things first, I've already prepped it to be cleaned. These guys are slimy when you get them out of the water, so I've washed him off pretty good, toweled him off so he's pretty dry. There's not too much slime left. Some people will descale them, but given that this is a kind of smaller trout, the scales are really fine. I don't bother. I just clean and cook it with the scales intact. They'll basically burn off when you cook it. As for how you cook it, I like to throw it on the grill like this. You can deep fry it, really, whatever your imagination, or whatever you like. So the first cut I make is going to be right behind the gills here. You see the gill plate lifts up. There's some cartilage right here, and then the meat fillet starts right behind that. So first one is from the top of the head down under this fin here. And you kind of just go down until you hit resistance, and you're good. I always keep a towel on hand. I do these in my kitchen. I really shouldn't because I can make a mess, but keep a towel on hand in case it gets a little messy. And you just flip it over and do the same thing on this side. Again, from the head right behind the gill down behind that fin. If you need any resistance on the way down, you just kind of work the knife in. Get yourself a good fillet knife. This is actually not a good fillet knife. It's just a $4 variety at your local, big box store. But for these little stockies, it does the trick. But really, I'd like to have a sharper knife. Makes it a little more efficient. So once we've done that, we've got holes on both sides of the head. I have this board designed for filleting that I got at Bass Pro Shop or somewhere like that. You just stick the tail under this clip here, and that'll hold it in place and make it nice and easy. So what I do is I just start back here, right behind this back fin. I just stick the knife in kind of where the eggs and all the fish stuff come out, and then I just cut right straight up here all the way until you get up to basically under the chin there. And now if you did this right, this cut from behind the gills, behind the head, should intersect with the cut you just made or come real close. I didn't quite hit it right, so I'll have to finish it off there. But basically you have the underside all opened up, and the innards of the fish are now exposed. So you kind of just work your fillet knife around inside there to loosen it up. I'll spare you a close-up shot of it because it's kind of gross, but you do it a few times and it doesn't bother me anymore. But as for the connection points, it connects in the back here at the end of the digestive system and up here. So it's just one long tube basically, and then you got what are essentially the heart and some other unidentified organs, but you just kind of cut into the head here, kind of at the back of the esophagus, and you should be able to get the fish's insides all separated out at the front too. So I have it severed there. Now some people will, take the gills out, take everything out of the head, and kind of hollow that out. I don't bother because usually when I cook it, I'm gonna cut the rest of the head off. There's not a whole lot of meat there, so I don't mind. So I don't really bother taking the gills out. But then the innards are gonna just pop out. Throw those straight into the trash, and you have got what is essentially a hollowed out fish there. Like I said, keep a towel because this gets a little messy. Depending on how you catch the fish and what you do after you decide you're going to keep it, it may have a lot of blood still in it. If they bleed out, they tend to not have quite as much, but this one still had quite a bit left in them. So what you're left with now is a hollowed out fish, but if you can see there's a kind of a line of blood. That's its backbone. So we need to get that out before we store it or freeze it or cook it, because that's just blood, and if you leave that in there, it basically sours the meat. So I'm going to just hop over the sink here and take care of it. Won't bother showing you that because it's not too exciting. But what you essentially do is you just take your thumb and push up along the spine there, and that basically digs out all the blood and sinew that's in there, and just rinse it down the drain. So I'll hop over here and do that real quick. Alright, as you can see, we got now a really clean trout there. We preserved all the meat, haven't lost any of it, so that'll be great for the grill. Normally at this point I would put it in the dried off and put it in the Ziploc, but what I'm going to show you is actually what I do before I cook it. Now if I was going to put this on the grill, I would just butter it up, salt it up, maybe put some pepper, whatever you want in there, however you like to eat fish, and just toss it on like this. Probably cut the head off first, but I'd leave the fins, the tail, all the skin on. The skin's one of the best parts in my opinion. I really like it, nice and crispy. But if you wanted to fillet it, what you would do, like if you wanted to cook it in the pan or fry it and don't want the skin on there for whatever reason, clip it back by the tail here, and what I do is I start right back at the tail here, and you give some downward pressure right where the tail meets the meat. Downward pressure, and you're going to hit that backbone. You're going to hit that spine that runs, it's maybe a couple centimeters in here, right around there. But there's lots of little bones in here, but the spine is really the main point of resistance. So you angle your knife like that, downward, and you just cut. And I've already cut the bottom open, so you're really just going to go from here until you hit this spot right behind, excuse me, right in front of this dorsal fin. And then what I do is I do an incision along the back here, from where I stop. Because I'm going to go this way until I hit basically this hole that I cut, and the rib cage starts right around here. You don't want to cut through the rib cage, because then what you're going to end up with is a fillet full of bones. So what you will do is actually cut until you hit the ribs, and then I go from the top here and kind of curl my knife along with the ribs. What that does is gives you a nice even fillet, but also without bones in it. So that's what I do if I was going to fillet it right now. I'm not going to. I'm going to just dry them off and put them in the bag. And we have a nice fresh rainbow trout to go on the grill or the pan or in the deep fryer in the next couple days. If you're going to eat it within a day or two, fridge is fine. If it's more than a couple days, I would say you probably want to put it in the freezer. That way it doesn't spoil. Last thing you want to do is waste meat of a nice fish that you caught yourself. Pick out any sort of leftover little tendons and whatnot while you're drying them out. But that's it. He's ready to go. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful.